Hello, Holistic Chamber of Commerce family. I'm Laura Goldstein, your host for today's live special event. We're going to be talking about the benefits of adding coaching to your practice. And today we have Beverly Sartain with us. And she is the president of the Holistic Coach Training Institute. Yes, a very long URL. We just talked about that, where she trains, mentors, and supervises professional coaches on coaching skills and business setup. She's also a certified alcohol and drug counselor and is a professional certified coach from the International Coaching Federation. I have to say, I love this conversation because as a coach and counselor myself, I think it's just like so super obvious to add coaching to your practice. That's what I do. Why wouldn't you do that? But I realize that a lot of people are still in that one-to-one model, or they are maybe selling products that maybe they could turn into a coaching process. So I bet there are a lot of people out there that aren't doing it. It's just for me, I'm like, don't we already know about this? But apparently not.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation because I really feel it's necessary to think about not just the services you're providing, but how you can leverage your skills and offer more services to the people that you're supporting to create a really good client journey for folks.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So let's just start out on like what got you here. Why this? Why coaching?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. I went from substance abuse counselor to coach. And so I had been working in nonprofits for about 10 years. I did work in domestic violence and mental health and substance abuse. And I have my own recovery story from childhood trauma. And so I have been in recovery for 16 years myself. And so just making that shift from substance abuse to counselor, substance abuse counselor to coach was really significant for me. I kind of felt like I had capped out in the work that I was doing. And I really wanted to be able to be creative in a way that I didn't feel like I could do in my day-to-day job. I wanted to have more spaciousness in my day. And that was something I didn't feel like I could have working for other people. And then my just income was really capped because we were doing such service work, which I loved and I, was committed to. I really wanted to be purposeful and prosperous. And I just felt like I wasn't going to be able to do that while working in a regular job. And this is, many years before the pandemic, but I'm really happy that I started to have that feeling already back then because it really made things much easier for us when the pandemic hit because we were already in the coaching business. And we're able to be quite successful when times are really challenging for a lot of other people. So for me, coaching just made a lot of sense because it really was aligned with what I wanted to be experiencing in my life. And I wasn't seeing that as a possibility with the skills that I had built up previously, but I knew I wanted to leverage the skills I already had. I had a lot of good skills already, and I just wanted to take those skills and figure out how to create my own thing. So that's how I got into coaching.
So are we talking about it? Because like when I think of doing one-to-ones with people, like I just assume that that's coaching, but I don't think that always is. I mean, as a psychotherapist myself, I know that there's like one-to-one therapy. So out of curiosity, can we talk about the difference here? Because like, what is the difference when you say doing one-to-one coaching versus one-to-one something else?
Yeah, that's one of the nice things about being connected with the International Coaching Federation is that they have certain standards and ethics to operate by. And so learning, the 8 core competencies that they share, those 8 core competencies get used in every coaching conversation. Those core competencies are what makes coaching different than maybe consulting or counseling or mentoring or some other type of modality. So that's kind of the reason why it's important to go through a coach-specific training even when we come from counseling or these other backgrounds, because there's very specific things that are required of coaching, like setting an agreement, which is very different than just somebody coming to a session and what would you like to talk about today? You know, in a coaching conversation, it's what's our agreement for today? What are we going to coach on today? And how are we going to measure if you got that by the end of the call? So there's very specific kind of markers that are addressed in a coaching conversation that aren't addressed in counseling, therapy, consulting, and some of these other modalities.
And I appreciate schools like what you've created popping up, because there was a time where like all of a sudden there's this boom in coaching and anybody could hang up a jingle and say, you know, I'm a coach. But we've seen this trend now to really understanding, you know, the ethics behind it and what's expected as a coach, and having some formal training so that, you know, you can feel confident moving forward and saying, I am a coach, but it's also credibility too.
Exactly. I mean, that's what we have. Like when people go through our program and at the end, they're feeling more confident because they actually know what they're supposed to do in a coaching conversation. It's not just winging it and asking questions. It's like there's this process that you take somebody through in a coaching conversation. Then furthermore, it's understanding that there's actually a process you take people through in a coaching container. If you're working with someone for 3 months, 6 months, what does that whole coaching container look like, from discovery call to contracts to initial session to checking in midway to make sure the person's getting the results that they're wanting to get, and then wrapping up a coaching container? What does that look like? So we give all of those pieces when we train people so that they know the ethics and standards of a coaching conversation. They know the ethics and standards really of a coaching container. And then they feel competent, like you said, and confident to be able to actually hold space for people and help people get results.
Let's talk about the benefits of coaching. Like if someone doesn't have it, like why would they want to be a coach?
Yeah. And, you know, even like for everybody in the Holistic Chamber of Commerce, like that's, you know, what I was really thinking about in terms of like people that are doing Reiki, or they're doing chakra clearings, or they're doing massage. We get a lot of people that come from those different types of modalities. And, you know, I think one of the really big benefits is that it can be done anywhere and through retirement. So again, like going back to the pandemic here, our business just kept going because we're mainly online. We do some in person, but we're mainly online. And so there's a big advantage to be able to offer coaching packages to your clients, even if you normally see them in person. And so, and this is also something that can be done through retirement. So it's, you know, we get a lot of massage therapists that's saying like, this is starting to wear on my body. I'm needing to do something different. This is a really great way now to supplement the fact that you can provide this additional service to people. Another benefit is that it's going to be something that you can provide to your clientele that you already have. So it's like adding an additional service to people you've already been serving. It's not even going out and creating new clients. It's you already have a clientele that you've been working with. And now you can come to them and say, not only do I offer these services or products, but I'm also starting to add coaching now. So we could do monthly coaching, or we could coach bi-monthly for a certain period of time to actually make sure that you are accountable and making adjustments outside of our sessions, not just inside of our sessions. And then lastly, I think a big benefit is just providing a holistic approach to people. So maybe if we're doing a lot of body work and it's on the physical level, like actually the holistic coaching we do is we address the mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical level. So in the coaching we do, we're bringing up questions and conversation around all of the levels to really provide a well-rounded approach to people. So I think it's an additional thing that somebody could be offering that's going to help their person have well-rounded results.
Yeah. I would think too, if someone had like a physical product, and I'm just going to, let's say like essential oils, like we have a lot of people that are essential oil reps, and while you can sell your product and have parties and things like that, I mean, like, the home parties or the office parties where you bring in your oils and talk about, custom blends and stuff. But I would think there'd be a benefit to adding coaching to that, because what if you get somebody that wants to go deeper, or you want to have like a coaching call on how to, combine different oils. It's like, even if you have a product, I would think this would be a great process to tack on as, like you said, an additional revenue stream.
That's it. And then not only are you giving people information, you're giving them embodiment now. And that's what I love about the coaching. It's not just about giving people information, it's about helping them embody in some sort of way. And with the way that the sessions are kind of structured, it's again, like, what's our agreement here today? And how are you going to know that you got what you wanted out of our call today? And then we help them evoke awareness around whatever it is that they're wanting to get out of the session. And then it becomes about actions, planning, and accountability. So now with the discoveries, now with the insights that have come through for you, what would you like to do outside of the session with this? And how are you going to do that and follow through with that? How might you hold yourself accountable, or who or what can hold you accountable? So it's just taking the insights and the discoveries that people have and actually helping them move it forward, which, PS, is like the hardest part for people. So I think there's so much value in being able to be somebody that helps other people actually see things through, which is what folks want to have happen.
Yeah, for sure. So besides like one person versus a group, what is the difference between one-to-one coaching and, say, group coaching?
Yeah, I mean, generally people start with one-to-one coaching. I mean, that's usually how the business model is set up. I did one-to-one coaching for about 3 to 4 years. And I have to say, just again, because I came from substance abuse counselor to coach, like, I love one-on-one. I love being one-to-one with somebody, having a very deep, soulful conversation with that person and being of service in some sort of way. So I had just such a strong attachment to staying with the one-to-one. Interestingly enough, like, the ICF actually has data on this and has a lot of stats that most coaches, the majority of coaches, don't just offer one service. They offer a multitude of services. So they offer being a consultant. They offer doing coaching. They offer training, like we do. We offer training, so that there's a diversification of the services. And again, that is one of the benefits, is diversifying your services. So it's not just the revenue coming in through one stream. The revenue is coming in through multiple ways, and that will help you sustain and grow your business. So the one-to-one is generally where people start, but then we start to see, like, people will grow their business by first taking people through a one-to-one experience for a certain amount of time. And then we start to see them maybe go into a group experience. So using your example of essential oils, maybe you're, working with somebody or working with people on a one-on-one basis around the essential oils. And maybe you're hearing common themes, or you're hearing common questions that people are having. And then you might realize, oh, I could do this in a group format where I take 10 people through this, and maybe coming up with some sort of program or structure of what that might look like. But making sure that you keep it coaching, again, through knowing what the standards are, so that those interactions are coaching interactions and not turning into something else. So it's just a way to up-level your business model. It's another way to bring in more revenue stream with a different type of service. So, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely leverages your time too. You can certainly serve more people when you're in a group format. And I know that a lot of coaches, in terms of like their pricing trends, because people always want to know, oh, what do I charge? And this and then I know, like, for one-on-ones, there's a higher price point, but yet group coaching, it might be a little bit less because you have more people in the group. It can serve like more people. And that isn't always the case. I mean, pricing is very individual, but
yeah.
I see that trend a lot. Yeah,
I think it's a great point, because if you have the one-on-one then can become the premium. service, like you're saying, like that, then that could be the one that costs just a little bit more because of being one-to-one with you personally. And then having the group being a little bit of a lower price point or less than the one-on-one. So it's more accessible to people. And then sometimes I like to just offer, I've got individual, I've got group, or you can do both. And so that option is there for some people too, that like both of those. And then that's a third offering that you could have there.
So now you are offering like training on how to be a coach. How did you shift from like the one-on-one coach practitioner to I'm going to form an institute with a very long domain name?
Right. It's a very interesting story, actually. I was never intending to train other coaches. In fact, I was always someone that referred to other coach trainings. My kind of shtick was doing one-on-one with people. And I personally started with alternative recovery coaching. So that was kind of where I came into coaching. Again, leveraging that I had been a substance abuse counselor, that I had been in recovery. I didn't get sober through any of the mainstream ways. And so I wanted to be able to offer coaching to people that maybe didn't want to go through some of those mainstream ways. And so that was how the story started. And once I was in my business, I was having a lot of success quickly. And so I would say in the first year or two, people were coming to me and saying, how did you do this? How did you start your business? So I was starting to do some like business mentorship, I would say. I still to this day, I don't consider myself a business coach. And so that never resonates with me because I'm not per se a business person or a marketer. It's just, this is the gift of coaching, is once you go into entrepreneurship, you start to learn things that you're really good at that maybe you just never knew because of the environments that you were in previously. So I started to learn that I was very good at taking initiative, which I've always known. And I'm just very good at figuring things out. And I like to figure things out. So the business stuff started to come pretty easy to me. And so then it seemed like that was what people were coming to me for. And then a year or two after that, I had the person that I had actually done my first coach training with approached me to purchase her school. So that's how it came on my radar. And we didn't end up landing on a deal. So I did not end up purchasing her school. But what it did do is that it gave me a lot of confidence to just do my own thing, which has kind of been my MO for my whole life. And so that was when I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to pick up her school or her approach, but I'm going to create my own. And the reason that that was significant for me, again, hers was a recovery coaching thing, and I didn't want to train recovery coaches. I wanted to train holistic coaches. And so that's why I ended up creating the Holistic Coach Training Institute and creating my own curriculum in alignment with the ICF and their core competencies. So we're accredited through the ICF. We're one of their accredited programs. And so, you know, we operate by their standards and ethics. And that's how it was created, Laura.
Great story. I love things that happen. Things happen organically. It's just like, oh, things are falling in my lap. I guess I'm supposed to be doing this. I wish this would happen to me more often. I'm like, every day can be a sign from the universe day.
That's true. And that's honestly what it was. It was, I always share this, Laura, that this was the moment I knew that the universe had my back. This was the moment I knew like I could really just fully let go and surrender now and know that I have a relationship with the universe and that I can trust that connection and that relationship, because this was something so far like off my radar that when it came, it was like I couldn't ignore it. I couldn't look away. I had to look at it and be open to it. And then I followed that path, and it's just been a remarkable ride ever since. Like we've been doing very, very well. And I'm just following this continued journey, which has been wonderful.
I can see how your program would be beneficial for people that have never done coaching before, that want to add it, but also people like yourself and also me too. We come from a clinical therapy background and we get stuck in this model of, one-to-ones, even what small groups look like. I know, like when I left traditional therapy to do more coaching and consulting, like I had like all these hangups about, like, well, what do I charge and what's the difference? And as a therapist, you don't divulge any personal information.
Mm-hmm.
But as a consultant, I'm going a lot by my experiences. So I want to share, hey, this has worked for me. It might work for you. So I can see how it helps on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, we get a really great combination of people. Interestingly enough, because of the clinical background, I do tend to pull in energetically, I think, just a lot of social workers. I pull in a lot of counselors, a lot of therapists. We also get a lot of educators that come through the program. But we get a lot of people that are new to coaching, and so sometimes people are like, oh, does everybody know how to coach already? And it's like, no, it's very rare that we have anybody that already knows how to coach. Most people are coming in, not having coached before, but like I said, with skills already. And so that's why our program is not top heavy on just learning skills. Our program is very top heavy on experiential experience. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things I love about the ICF is there's certain requirements that I have to meet to be an accredited program. And so we have to listen to a certain number of observed sessions. So people are turning in recordings, usually 4 recordings for a 6-month period, where we're listening to it in class in front of the entire class. And I'm providing feedback on the coaching conversation so that the person can get better at their skills. So it's very comprehensive. And, our holistic approach is that it starts with you. Because I, at one point in my career was an unhealthy helper, I like to say. I wasn't helping from a healthy place when I was in my mid-20s, and it's kind of how my recovery journey began. I was really using my work to feel good about myself, and it was creating some codependency and some perfectionism, some workaholism. And so, it's very important to me to train people to, take good care of themselves, to be able to do this work in a sustainable way, and to be always looking at what is being reflected back to you, through the coaching, through the practice, through all these things, so that you can keep doing the inner work necessary so that you can be a healthy coach and a healthy helper.
So important. I can't tell you how many people that were in my mental health master's program that I thought, oh my gosh, they're here to try and fix themselves. It's like, they're not in a position to help other people. So I can understand, you need to be in a place yourself where you are healthy to help other people get healthy. So I can totally relate to that. And Frances is watching. So she just confirmed that, you were born for this.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
Nice. So let's say someone is interested in becoming a certified coach. Mm-hmm. What does the process look like briefly? I mean, I know that they can have like a one-on-one consultation call with you or someone on your team, but what can they expect from, joining a training program like yours?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, one of the always a good thing is to go to the International Coaching Federation website. It's got a lot of information there for people so that people can understand that credentialing process. So because we're aligned with them and accredited by them, our program sets you up to meet most of their requirements. There's certain requirements that just can't be completed in the 6-month program that we provide. One of them is that they want you to have 100 hours of coaching experience. So that's not something that gets done usually within the 6 months. We do give a practice partner to our students. So every week you're coaching somebody for 30 minutes and they're coaching you for 30 minutes. So you get the experience of being the coach, but you also get the experience of receiving coaching. And that way, you're really learning the skills of trust and safety, presence, like some of the core competencies. You're learning them by also being the coachee. Like, what does it mean to cultivate trust and safety as the coach? But also, what does it mean to cultivate trust and safety as the coachee? And I think like having, both of these sides being experienced is a really big part of the process. So, you know, generally people can expect any coach training that they would do would, it's not about the time frame. Ours is 6 months, but it's how many hours, you know, so the ICF requires their first tier of credentialing is you have to have at least 60 hours of coach specific training. Then you have to have 10 hours of mentorship coaching, which we also include in our program. And then you have to do a performance evaluation where you actually turn in a recording, and that recording has to meet certain standards. So it's like an oral exam where you have to pass that performance evaluation. Per the ICF, you have to have the 100 hours of coaching experience, and they make you take a written exam when you go for their credentialing. But in terms of what we do in our program, it's the 60 hours of coach-specific training, the mentorship, and a performance evaluation. And that's all included in what we offer to people. It's pretty significant. Yeah.
For someone, and I do like that you incorporate experience, because I do think there's some things we can learn through reading and just intellectually. Mm-hmm. We need to practice. We need to develop those skills. For someone who's a little bit nervous about mm-hmm. going into that because they've mm-hmm. never done it before, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I mean, I always share just my own story of, again, when I was not at my healthiest, I used to receive feedback as criticism. And so it was always very challenging for me at work to receive feedback because I would judge myself or be harsh on myself or critical. And then like learning this paradigm of you know, feedback is just information and you get to decide what you do with the feedback. And I always encourage people to take the feedback without judging yourself. I think learning that skill is incredible, just not in coaching, but just in life. Like learning how to hear feedback and taking the pieces of it that you can move forward in some sort of way is a wonderful skill to learn in life. And so, you know, my intention is to provide loving feedback to people. I can have a bit of a directness. Like I love in coaching, there's a skill called direct communication. And it's, to me, it's just being truthful, being honest, being truthful. And so I use a lot of direct communication when I give the feedback, you know, where I just say, this is what I'm hearing. And I'm curious, like what you're hearing when I say that to you. So it's very collaborative, actually, the feedback, and people are pulling out the insights that's, you know, feel valuable to them. So, I mean, my feedback to this person that might be nervous about it is that there's a lot of value that can come through, even if we're having body sensations, even if we have some anxiety about it. I have literally had people at the end of the program when I said, like, what was the best thing about the program? You know, everybody always shares that hearing other people coach and hearing the feedback was really, really significant for their own soul lessons, but also for their coaching.
Yeah. And you can always go slow with these things. I mean, nothing says that like as soon as you're done, you have to jump in and there's this expectation that you're going to have a full, you know, packed coaching business. You can always take things slow and just say, hey, you know, this is what I've learned, and this, I'm going to go out there now and I'm just going to work with a couple of people, you know, and get my feet even wetter than they already are. And
yeah, I'm glad you said that, Laura, because that's always the perspective that we encourage. You know, the truth is, like, not everybody comes into a coach training for the same reasons. We get people that want to do this eventually full time. We get people that want to do this part time. We get people that want to do this so they can be better at the job that they're at right now. And then we get people where we just say it. This is not about you need to, you know, be done with this and have 10 paying clients. We find one person to coach, you know, create one client for yourself and then see how it goes, and then create another client for yourself. And that's really how I started. And I quite quickly, you know, did create a bunch of clients for myself. But part of that was because I leveraged my network. So like I said, I had been working at nonprofits for 10 years, and I had just established a lot of great connections and relationships. I'm very dependable. Like, people know I'm reliable. People know I do a good quality of work. And so when I went to these past colleagues and said, I'm no longer at nonprofits, I'm no longer doing, the substance abuse counseling, I'm now doing coaching, I got referrals from people because they knew that they could count on me. So it's just really about kind of leveraging that inner circle you have at first. And then I went to therapists and psychiatrists. So that was another place I went to, and just let people know, like, I know you're working with people. If anybody is at the end of working with you and they need a next step, I'm available for that. Or if you think somebody might need something in between sessions. And I got several people that way who are working with a therapist or a psychiatrist, and I happen to support that person in between their sessions. And so that was a way that I leveraged and built some clients. So you don't need to have a full-fledged full-time business when you stop, but you want to just think about working with a few people and what that might look like.
Yeah. And sometimes word of mouth, people think, oh, I need to have like a huge email list and I need to have my whole business set up. You really don't. You just need to know people and let them know, hey, I'm doing this. Are you interested? Yeah.
It's building relationships, because I didn't have a big audience or email list. Of course, when you start, you don't have that. You have to start somewhere. And so you want to start with the relationships you've already created with people. Yeah. And see, which of those you can leverage.
Oh, fantastic. Before we have ending thoughts, I'm just going to go over the comments here. And just for people watching these live streams, so you know that you can type in your questions in the comments. You can share. Cynthia is joining us from LinkedIn. I'm glad you figured it out so that you could join in the conversation through your notifications, just so you know, yes, we got them. So I'm glad you're enjoying this conversation about coaching. So if anybody, you're watching and you have questions, please feel free to type them in. Do you have any a last minute story you want to share, or just something that you want to leave our viewers with before we end the conversation for today?
Yeah, I just, I really believe, for me, coaching is the modality that's here to support humanity. The reason I love coaching so much is because it's the one modality where I feel like the coach can self-actualize and the client can self-actualize in the same conversation. And I love that. I love that reciprocation. And I think that coaching is something that, anybody can leverage. So if you're thinking I don't have enough skills, or I don't know enough, or it's really not about all of that. It's about holding space for people. And I think that, giving yourself the opportunity to leverage some skills that you already have and adding this type of a service onto the work that you already do can be incredibly, incredibly lucrative.
Yeah, I like that. You can definitely bring in your own flair into, the coaching field, and also harness your gifts. And that just, I love to geek out on that stuff. Because, I do a lot of work around, helping people identify their zone of genius and their soul level strengths. And I think that you can be a coach no matter whatever spectrum, whatever your gift is. You can still coach, and people are going to be drawn to you because not only can you help them, but of your unique style of coaching.
Yeah. And that's what I love about coaching has been the thing, Laura, that has stretched me further than I thought possible. That's what I love about it. It gives the possibility to help people see their brilliance, experience their magnificence, really start to see what their genius is. And there's never been another modality for me that's offered me that kind of insight into myself, and not only shown me that insight, but then I take action on it. And then I start to actualize it in my everyday life, taking that energy from the session into your everyday life, and then actually embodying and experience it. So I love what you're sharing, and I hope that everybody can hear and feel how much I love coaching.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cynthia wants to share the interview. Is that possible? Yes, it is possible, Cynthia. If you are on a public channel like LinkedIn or off of the Public Holistic Chamber of Commerce Facebook page, you can share this to, Facebook. You can, I believe you can also share it on LinkedIn. It just has to be public. For those that are watching within the members only Holistic Chamber Facebook group, you can't share it outside the group because it's a private group. But that's why we live stream. It's also on YouTube. So if you go to like the Holistic Chamber of Commerce YouTube channel, I'm like, what is it? It's not a page. You can also share it from YouTube. So you can find it in multiple places. And we would love it if you shared this information. Yes. That's fantastic. So yeah, if it's on the public page, you can share it to anybody, whether it's like a person or if you want to share it in a group, as long as it's set to public access and you grab it from a public place. All right. I did type in your very long website. I know I'm going to say that every single time. I posted it in the chat here. So if anybody wants to go to your website, you do free discovery calls, but you also have a coupon. So
yes. So we would love to give you $350 off of your coach training if that's something that you would like to move forward on, and that's holistic 350, and it's not case sensitive, so it's just holistic 350. And you can put that into the coupon code and it will take off $350 for you. And we would love the opportunity to chat with you if you're interested in just hearing a bit more about coaching and seeing if coaching might be a right fit for you. We're happy to do a call with you and just share a bit more about ourselves, share a bit more about what we're doing, and we can see if there's some alignment there.
Thanks so much, Beverly, for being with us today. And if any of our viewers out there are interested, just to have a phone conversation, doesn't cost anything, to get more details and to have a chat about the opportunities that becoming a certified coach can bring to you. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. And I just want to say I love connecting with people. So if you feel any sort of nudge to reach out on LinkedIn or Facebook, I'm happy to connect. I love having relationships with people and getting to know people.
Awesome. So Cynthia, that answers your question. Yes, she's on LinkedIn. Okay.
Yes, reach out, Cynthia, please.
Fantastic. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.